at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
Ninja? Ninja! Ninja!
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words.
Oh crap, has this thing been on mute the whole time, or has it been playing? I asked for feedback, but I guess if I was on mute, we wouldn't have heard me ask for that. Okay, so now are you getting sound, or no? Maybe that's why people have been leaving on the Instagram. They're booking in and out over there. Well, Instagram is certainly weird. I can have a conversation about Instagram at some point here. I see myself wiggling over there. Do I have to go check? Somebody can give me some feedback on the audio. Oh, that's the one I have starred. Is that what that is? Or is it telling me? Okay, there we got sound. Okay. Right on. So, I want to say thanks again to the people joining us. Was I muted the whole time, or was it working at the beginning there? Country Room Fire Plus was the first one joining us tonight. I'm assuming you heard the intro and stuff. Like when the intro was playing, that noise happened. Oh, I can close out of this, though. I don't need that anymore. Five by five. All right, thanks. Yeah, okay, I was muted up till then. I'll just start over, I guess. Sorry about that. I'm blaming the new platform. I didn't realize that I have to click all the mutes off, I guess. Okay, so thanks for the feedback, everybody. I guess I was ranting. I said some really amazing things. It was an awesome intro, and there's no way to recreate it because it was all heartfelt, just at the moment, inspiration at the moment. So the best I could do is try to remember some of it. But I was just saying that I started I'm using a new platform this week. We go live on Friday nights to chat about what the Second Amendment protects, and I appreciate the internet because of its interactive nature, and I appreciate the people that join us live and are part of the conversation. And we got Country Rimfire Plus was the first one joining us. Then Hillbilly Up came in, and I was just saying that I can now star the comments, which means that if you say something and I see it in the comments, and we're chatting about something else, if I have a co-host in here or something, we'll be able to keep track of the comments so we don't lose something, which is the reason I left the last platform I've been using. Then I said Agorizer was joining us. Welcome. And then Pack 900, new name. We're not going to talk about your other question here because that gets people kicked off of YouTube. So you can buy stuff on other platforms probably, but we're not going to talk about that stuff on YouTube. And then who else is over here? I saw a couple other names. Gizzard joined us. Welcome. I'm assuming a lot of people are joining us from Gizzard's show that was just on. Gizzard hosts his Friday night show just before this one. We're the after party for the Gizzard show. Then Foss is here. He's the one that gave me the info on this, what's it called? EV Mux software that I'm using right now. And again, thanks to him for that info. He's got a show tomorrow night, and I also would have said Hillbilly's got a show tomorrow night as well. This show is linked to had a coughing fit there. Hold on. This show is linked to our show tomorrow, but Brooke Cheney also hosts a show on Saturday that I would normally link to if she had hers posted already. I had to take a drink there. I do need to get a co-host because it's really hard to talk for this long, at least for me. And I am not interested in just chatting for an hour. I was ranting before about, some people really do like just giving everybody their opinion, and I understand that, and I don't really care, but it's not my goal. I was saying that, the way that communication started, at some point we had books and writing and all that stuff, and then eventually got to the United States. And one of the big pieces of the United States is the free press, because we kind of started at the same time that publications became economical and affordable. And that allowed a lot of people to gain knowledge and share opinions. And it makes it real difficult for someone to rule over you when you can talk amongst yourselves, right? Big part of our country is the ability to have open conversations, that First Amendment and all that. So as I look at it, we started with books and probably newspapers, and pamphlets were a big deal. And then posters, right? That kind of thing. But then you get radio and then television. And a lot of that stuff was just by its nature, a message that was projected, right? Like an opinion that was put out there. And at the beginning, they were very objective, I think, or at least we like to think that back in the old days they were very objective, or at least, whatever. But because there was just so little access to the means of distribution of all that content, by nature, you were just absorbing it. You could talk about it amongst yourselves, you could agree or disagree, but it was being, programmed. It was being offered. And, the end of that story is we get the internet, and we don't live in that world anymore. Now people can offer their opinions. Anybody's opinion can come to the mix and become viral, is what we would say now, but anybody's opinion can be shared and, agreed with or disagreed with. And I really appreciate that. So I was ranting before that, I've been doing this for years online, these live shows with groups, because I really value the conversations that come up and the shared opinions, but like the results of these conversations have been super productive over the years. So one of the reasons I participate in this whole thing is to keep that kind of thing going. So I do appreciate the people that join us in the middle of the night for these shows, and the people that participate, that actually join in. Pack found our Instagram, but thanks for asking. I am hosting tonight. That's another thing I was chatting about before when I was muted. We're hosting on this new software, and it allows me to jump over to Instagram also. So we're live on Instagram. If anybody's on Instagram, oh look, somebody is asking about something I'm not going to chat about. So see if it shows up over here. It doesn't. So appreciate the question. Facing 9 or whatever, but I'm not going to answer that question because of stupid rules on YouTube. But it's also interesting to see that it doesn't show up over on the software that I'm using over here. But anyway, welcome to everybody. Nonetheless, like I say, it's a conversation, but it doesn't mean we got to address every question that comes up. So that one honestly isn't my expertise anyway, because I could give a shit where you buy your shit at, but I'm not going to talk about it tonight because of the YouTube rules. So but you'd probably do better to find some other show where they actually care about selling you stuff or worrying about whatever new gizmo is available. I'm more worried about our rights and the bigger picture look at our community and how our community develops and grows and changes and adapts. and the challenges we face and how we're working with those. But I understand with the name gun websites, you might think that I'm here to sell you stuff or tell you, or just sit here and have dumbass conversations about levers and knobs and shit. I did back in the olden days, but once I moved on past that, I don't have those conversations so much anymore. Let's see. Country rimfire sand. I do that all the time in videos. Pisses me off. Leave it on mute for like half the show. Or I don't know what you're talking about, but the problem now is that I was on mute for half of this thing, and I'm going back and covering up comments, or catching up on comments here. So let's see. I don't know what that is. All right. So with that, we'll dig into this week on the 2A. So what I normally do is create what are those things called? A Substack blog. And, we would normally look at that. I guess instead of doing that, I'll just share my screen if I can figure out how to do it over here. It's not add a camera, it's probably share screen, and then it would be, how about the entire screen over here? Yeah, and like this, and you are now sharing a screen. I got to add it to the system and then take over. Am I still here, even though this is on the screen? And I don't know if I can make it much bigger because of this stupid thing. I think I have to pull this over. All right, but we can take a look at some of the stuff I watched on the YouTube, and that'll give us something to chat about, since that's half of what I do when I do the wrap up anyway. I guess I have to move this over to see Instagram. Okay, but you can still hear me, right? I appreciate that feedback. All right, so I was just posting the stuff about tomorrow's show, so I just have last week's show up here, but me and Tony do a show on Saturdays where we chat about Ask Gun Questions, and that's the show where I will talk about nuts and bolts and levers and angles and shit like that, because, again, I'm not trying to sell you nothing, and I'm old, and I don't care about the newest fangled stuff, and I'm not intentionally against it as much as I'm against fads and wasting our time. So I like tried and true. I like stuff that's been tested and works. And I'm not, a lot of the stuff where people are like, oh no, you got to try the new blah, blah, blah. It's because they're paying you. They're paying that guy to tell you about the new blah, blah, blah. And I don't play those games. All right. So anyway, so hopefully our show is fresh and interesting. Plus we go like 3 hours on the regular. Like we usually sit around blabbing, and it's on a Saturday afternoon. So I hope it lends itself to people enjoying that. We just talked about Gizzard's show, and that was 297. Just happened just a minute ago. You can go listen to the replay. I was hooking up this show, so I guess I should have done that.
I've never worked for like a gun manufacturer or anything that.
So I'm trying not to click on these. That was setting up this week's show. I had to look at last week's show. All right, so we got Four Boxes Diner talking about Pam Bondi issues the new policy today. Well, luckily, there are some conversations out there, people concerned about this lady. But that new policy was certainly interesting. They talked about it a little bit on Gizzard's show, and I'm hoping that that'll be the topic of conversations for a while. Slim was up shooting at a new spot he found in the desert. That was kind of neat. He went live for a while and chatted about shooting, and then shut it off right before he actually went shooting, because how the rules are nowadays. Maj has been doing on the regular kind of a political whatever editorials, I guess is the way to say it, talking about newspapers back in the day. So I guess I watched that one. Crump was talking about the suppressors, the suppressor ruling. What do you think? Where are you at on that one? The suppressors are ruled that they are not firearms, so they're not protected by the Second Amendment. At least that's in a circuit court, right? So Fifth Circuit Court, so nobody's happy about that. That's usually a circuit court that's more practical and on our side, let's say. But our side is usually practical, so like a more practical opinion of a firearm. But in this case, they suggest that a suppressor is not a firearm. Therefore, it's not, and it's not like a magazine or a bullet or something that's necessary for the operation of a firearm. So therefore, it doesn't have the same protections of the Second Amendment to be prohibited. And I think two things on that. I don't know. Let me know what you think about that one. But one is that Circuit Court said this, so now we can take it to the Supreme Court, which is, kind of necessary to get it solved once and for all. But on the other side of it is, well, if it's not a firearm, then how could it be on the NFA? Because the NFA is about firearms. So hopefully there's some leverage there. There's Yankee Show. We were on Yankee Show on Thursday with Matt. And then Great Start Shooting School, I mentioned, she'll have her show tomorrow, her mental health awareness and prevention show. And then she's also a firearms instructor. I don't know if I feel about this one. So this was a short video about a toy that's got the ability to cycle these little, I don't think they're like airsoft or Nerf. There's some kind of mix between airsoft and Nerf. I think I might own one. But it's just a toy that cycles out these spent cartridges as it operates. And I didn't watch the video, but I saw it and I meant to watch it. It's only a minute long. We could watch it right now. I don't think she'll care. Let's watch it right now. Give me your opinion on it.
I'm going to call it.
I have that little one, the 9mm version.
Okay.
You can hear it all right?
Here it goes. People ask me about training stuff all the time. One of my students showed up with this training tool, and that's what I'm going to call it. It may be just a toy, but it's a fun toy. The pieces and parts actually all work. Each time you pull the trigger, the gun parts actually move, so that makes that super fun. And it comes in different colors, and it really is a lot of fun. And you can actually train with it and load it and unload it and all of those fun things. So, from a Great Start Shooting School, I can just tell you right now, that's horrible because their finger shouldn't be on the trigger. That's also horrible. Their finger should be on the trigger. Other than that, I love the gun, even if I don't love the pictures they have.
Oh, $30. You can definitely get it for less than $30. But she's just saying it's fun. Okay, I'm down with that. I thought she was going to say it's a great training tool, and that's where I was going to be like, I don't know if it's a great training tool. Maybe for certain things, but anyway, what do you think? Let's see. Now, Country Rimfire had said before, and I was able to star this comment, so I'm super happy with this software. I think if I unstar it, your comment disappears. So let me just do this. He says, I think we should, I'm assuming it's a he. I guess I don't know who you are. I think we should have access to suppressors with no stupid ass tax stamp. Yep, I agree 100%. It's definitely time to effort towards that. And I'll just throw this out there since nobody's in here chatting with me. I don't think that's necessarily something we put somebody on our shoulders and we let them do all the work. That's something that is an education thing, and it's an awareness thing. The same way that, I don't know, at some point people probably thought of guns as shotguns and revolvers maybe, and then enough people own semi-automatic pistols that, now people think of a gun as a Glock instead of a revolver. That was no agenda. Nobody said, let's change the whole public's opinion of what a handgun is from a revolver to a semi-auto. That just kind of happened. And we all took it for granted, and we all just allowed it to happen, and nobody resisted it, really. Nobody cared. It wasn't a big issue. I'm just using it to illustrate that it is possible to make massive changes in perspective and perception. And sometimes it just happens, but we could instigate that. And I don't know why our national level organizations don't understand that we have the ballot box and we have the jury box, but we also have that soapbox. And that doesn't just mean like getting people popular and rich. The soapbox is changing public opinion through awareness and education. And that's what we have on our side. And that's how we get suppressors and everything else off the NFA, is by letting people know you got nothing to fear from quiet guns that are belt fed. Like, that's not something to fear. People who are dangerous are, dangerous. It doesn't matter what's in their hands. And what you don't have in our country is a bunch of dangerous people walking around. So we can change that perception through awareness and education. And people like Brooke are doing that. Her focus, of course, is on suicide prevention and mental health awareness, how we can start to talk about mental health the same way we talk about our arms and legs. If we had a broken arm or a broken leg, we don't have any problems with talking about that. Hey, I broke my arm. Oh, how'd you break your arm? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, when your arm is healed, let's go skydiving. Okay, sounds good. Well, if you have mental health awareness, then it's like, oh, I'm having some trouble with the blah, 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 and this and that. Okay, when that's done, we'll do this, or how about you try this? I've tried this before. We don't have these conversations because it's not part of our culture. Well, we can change that intentionally by doing things like Brooke does, and a consistent effort every single Saturday to help chip away at that. It's just something we haven't done before, right? It's just a change in culture, and it's stuff that some people understand that's possible and able to be done, and some people just don't have that, aren't clued into that yet. And I think that's what we're looking at with suppressors and the NFA. Once we get that figured out, we start to get everybody to leave us alone. All the antis will leave us alone, and then we can start doing all kinds of fun stuff. Let's see. I guess this is from, I don't know why it's showing me this in my own thing. Maybe I must have watched it, I guess. But I've figured on Wednesday night, I guess, because of Foss wasn't refused to do a extra Wednesday overnight. I went late night and did a Instagram rewind. I forget where we were. Was it in Gizzard's show? I think it might have been Gizzard's. It must have been Gizzard's is his show on Wednesday. That is a secret show. We were chatting about the olden days, and it made me think about, I was actually looking for a picture of a place in Tulsa that we were chatting about, and I figured out, hey, I'm like years back on my Instagram. I'm just going to go live after Gizzard is over. And we chatted for about an hour about, I don't know, about 4 years worth of Instagram posts. So people are watching over on Instagram. That was my first Instagram live. I think you can only go live for an hour on Instagram. I haven't really cared to go back and look, but maybe it cuts it off after an hour. I'm not really sure. Let's see. Tactical Response was live on Wednesday, and that got me thinking about what's happening over at SOE. So I went in and looked at one of the SOE podcasts and kind of watched the Tactical Response show for a bit. I think it must have been Wednesday that Foss posted his propaganda trying to get everybody to buy swords. So I'm a big sword fan, and I've bought plenty of swords over the years, but he found a place that sells really, really nice swords that are good to go. They're sharp, or fairly sharp for a real sword, and they're real swords with and made in the real ways. They're not just blanks cut out and ground down. So anyway, they're super nice. I've had one or two swords that were close because they came apart and they were kind of the same components as a real sword, but they were still fake. I bought two little Tontos at Christmas time. I just kind of decided, they were on clearance, I think. Not clearance, but they were on they were factory seconds or something. There's some sort of damage to them that I can't find. But anyway, I did buy a couple, and they're definitely the nicest things I've got. And I think he said that sword was like $100 or something. Was it 100 or 200? He's out there, I think. I don't know. Did you say the price in the thing? But anyhow, super nice. But it's peer pressure, so just so you know, you have to watch that and be careful. You're going to end up wanting to buy a sword. What's his face from Florida? Did he actually win the Democrat thing? Makes no sense, but I don't know. I don't follow politics enough to pay attention, but it definitely seems like it's a good time if you like politics to be able to talk about politics because it's front and center, right? She Fires posted this short. I don't know why it's showing me this one because I thought I watched a different one. So sometimes I think what happens is if I'm on my phone and it just plays for a moment, it'll show up in your history. I think that's what happens because I don't remember watching the one about her case. I'm going to go watch that actually because I like hard cases and interests me to see how different people run their hard cases or pelican cases, whatever you want to call them. If you're listening on the Instagram, we got the same thing going on with Instagram that we have with the X. People just watch over there, but they don't say nothing. So feel free to say something. I can't post it up on the screen, but I can address it at least. So be part of the show. Feel free to chime in, ask questions, address stuff, whatever. Foss saying that it was like $130. That's super sweet. At some point, I'll probably end up getting one, but it'll probably be a ways off. But yeah, they're really nice looking too. And the thing is, they've got, I don't know, 12 different styles. So you could definitely get kind of hooked on buying a couple of them. But at least one of the things that the reason I haven't bought one is because there's more than one that I like. And I don't want to buy 3. So let's see. I posted a couple of videos on the gear channel. I must have looked at one. 500 views. Oh, that's pretty interesting. Of when we were up in Vegas, the way that I was charging the drone batteries and whatever stuff I was charging. I use this power strip thing that has USB chargers in it right away, and I find that pretty handy for traveling, like at a hotel or something. Because I don't know why hotels haven't done it. I've only been to one hotel. I guess I don't go to good hotels, but I've only been to one hotel that had USB ports, I guess, in one of the lights, kind of like in a nightstand. It has a light with a bunch of USB ports on it. And other than that, I haven't seen too much stuff, unless it's just they're smart and they know that it's a security thing, and a lot of people wouldn't want to plug their USB stuff into, random ports. But when it's something like a battery, I appreciate having some ports that are just available in a hotel, especially just like up on a cabinet or something. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe nicer hotels do have that stuff already. All right, there's Gizzard sucking up to Phoenix over there. I don't know. Did you talk to him at SHOT, or did you hook up with them ahead of time? One of the reasons I do this show is because there's a lot of stuff that goes on out there, and because it happens on the regular, like consistently, and because there's a lot of it sometimes, and then there's nothing for a while. I like to think that this show helps to archive some of that stuff that happens and some of the back and forths. I don't try to keep track of everything for any, I'm not trying to say that, but the stuff it comes into my radar or whatever, I'll try to keep track of or try to archive like this. So Crump, the bigger picture is Attorneys on Retainer, which is a lawyer here in Arizona, in Phoenix, and then other companies. So when you think about concealed carry, or in what insurance you might own as a concealed carry person, it gets immediately really confusing for a number of reasons. And the first is there's really no such thing as insurance for CCW. There's insurance for stuff that has to do with gun owning. But anyway, just, there's this lawyer stuff and there's technically blah, blah, blah. So there's really not insurance. There's ways to be covered. Let's put it that way. But they run the spectrum from the first one, which was the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network, and it started out being the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Fund. That was created by Marty Hayes up in Washington in the 2000. It was created a long time ago from police, attorneys, and firearms instructors who had been expert witnesses in enough concealed carry cases as through the 90s and into the 2000s, more and more states were getting concealed carry. It was becoming a thing. So now all of a sudden it becomes a thing in the courts. So concealed carry instructors, such as Masad Ayub, were often brought into cases as expert witnesses. And when Marty Hayes and Masad Ayub kind of looked at each other, and back then they said, you know what, there's a place here where we can help people who are going to be dealing with this kind of stuff as this stuff keeps going, as more and more states get concealed carry and more people take advantage of being able to conceal carry without restriction. So they created this network or fund at the beginning, and you contribute like $100 a year, and it goes into a pile. And then when and if, or if and when, however you'd say it, one of the network members needs to access the fund, there's a set of circumstances, or what's the word? Like there's a threshold you have to meet or whatever. So they're not just handing out money, but you have access to this money as a network member. And at the beginning, it was different, and now it's years later, and there's a lot more money in there, so it's a lot different. But that's a fund. That's one end of the spectrum. And as you go through all the different types of, I don't know what to call them, types of strategies or types of ways that they call it CCW insurance. Some of them are insurance. None of them are insurance. They're all some kind of company that has an insurance company back them. But, all the different ways that that's created turn into the 5 or 6 different options that we have out there today. And then you get to the other end of that spectrum and you have a lawyer on retainer. And having a lawyer on retainer used to be for only fancy people with a lot of money because it was expensive. And then attorneys figured out that if they have enough people on retainer, then they don't have to charge very much because, the economy of scale. So that's where Mark Victor came into the mix. This whole thing of concealed carry insurance, even though I don't like saying that, it's like saying assault weapon. It's just it's a fake ass way of saying it because it's really not insurance. But anyhow, the whole thing started back with that Armed Citizens Legal Defense Fund in the 2000s. And then at one point, USAA was a website that you had to pay money to join. And then you could see videos on how to carry holsters and how to do things with a gun and stuff. It wasn't really training as much as just YouTube videos that you had to pay for because there wasn't a YouTube yet. And then in something like 2005, USCCA turned into a magazine subscription. So you could, have this subscription and see the website, but then you could also get this magazine in the mail. And somewhere after, I don't know, 9 or something, they decided, oh, you know what else we're going to do? Add insurance to this mix. But then, insurance became the biggest thing they did. So then they think the magazine went away, and then, the website doesn't cost nothing. So the website's always been there. And then somewhere they invented or they added training to it. And I don't really keep track of them when that happened. But at some point they started the training. But USCCA kind of developed, and the insurance was one of their incarnations there, but it was the one that stuck. And now they have 800,000 members, and their cheapest insurance is $29 a month. So if you do the math, they bring in $24 million a month. So USCCA insurance is one of the older ones. And like I say, it's bringing in about $24 million a month. So probably one of the other things like Texas Law Shield, which turned into U.S. Law Shield, which was a bunch of attorneys in Texas, said, hey, that's a pretty interesting business strategy. If you have 800,000 members and they are paying at least $30 a month, then you bring in $24 million a month. That seems like a pretty good business strategy. So then you get the one in Oklahoma City, which was started by some police and ATF, ex-ATF people, I think. And then you get one that started with PSA, the bear one. So anyway, you get a couple of these things that start up over the various years. NRA started one for a little while and it didn't work. But, NRA's had their problems, so I'm sure that would have been a lot to juggle at the time. So because of this long history of, I don't like to call it, but CCW insurance. Mark Victor comes in towards the end of this story and says, well, okay, there's national level entities that are paying a lot of money for marketing what's going on out there. And I don't know what sparked his interest in doing it, but he took what he was doing here in Arizona, which is being a lawyer on retainer, and took it nationally, and essentially was starting to compete with those CCW insurance, quote unquote, because they're not really insurance. And that's a fairly recent development. I did a big project with this, thanks to our Patreons. I can take a moment to say thanks to our Patreons. There's a scroll at the bottom of the screen that's thanks to our Patreons, the people that financially support what we're doing. I'm not just a YouTuber that asks for a bunch of money so I can go on fancy trips or whatever. We're gun websites. So we started out in 2005, and I've got quite a few websites, and some of the important ones are like the calendars and the history and stuff like this. So one of the projects we did, thanks to our Patreons who gave me the time to do it, was I sat down and went through all the different insurance options through time. Like, since that, like I just gave you through the kind of timeline there, since 2000 when the first one started, and then the beginnings and the ends of some, but the beginnings of all the others. And after going through it all, it was a super frustrating circumstance because it's just they definitely all profit on the confusion, and they all point fingers. It's like a big ass point and finger game where they all can go, I'm better than that one, and they may or may not be, but there's so many of them, and there's like they're all standing in a circle that they all go better than that one at the same time, and everybody has to look at each other and go, what the hell? So I attempted to go through and try to explain the differences after research, and try to explain the differences and the similarities, and the differences and similarities are very, very slight. And there can be some major ones due to where that you can get them and where you can even have them. But so like some of them are available to some people and they don't have a choice. Like this is all I can have. And others are completely restricted to other states. But aside from that kind of issue, they're not very different from each other, except for attorneys on retainer. So the reason I'm explaining all this is to hopefully give some perspective on why this is an interesting aspect, an interesting perspective on the gun community. It's not, I don't think it's a major issue. I think it's a interesting issue. I think maybe it's an important issue, but it's not critical or anything, and it's not urgent, but it's something that comes around. Usually when one of them has enough money to try to fight with the other ones, they'll buy a bunch of YouTubers. And maybe they do this in other realms, but I pay attention to YouTube. Maybe they do it in Instagram for all I know. But one of them will decide, screw it, I need more money, or I want to fight with the other one. So they'll buy a bunch of YouTubers and they'll tell everybody to buy our shit. And that'll stir some shit up occasionally. Why? Because other YouTubers, everybody gets $10. And maybe there's people that get more than $10, but let's just say everybody gets $10 to send you their way. So a bunch of them are sending you to Oklahoma, and a bunch of them are sending you to Texas, and they don't want you to go to Texas. They want you to go to Oklahoma because they get $10 for sending you to Texas. Well, they get $10 for sending you to Oklahoma, so they're going to have a fight about it. And that kind of stuff happens. I don't know. I always talk about these cycles, but I get sick of thinking about how many times these cycles have happened, because of these organizations. And it hasn't been a big deal. It's not like anybody even cares. Probably news to a lot of people that this is even a thing. But it's for people that are watching the big picture, it's annoying, and it's a constant annoyance. They don't work together. They don't play zones. They don't say, hey, we can't even work in that state, so let's not fight with each other and just let that person, that organization. No, they don't play like that. So they're just constantly like stabbing each other and poking each other and buying people from each other. That's the other thing that pisses them off, because they all got, I don't know how much they all have, but we know USCCA has $24 million a month. So how much does it cost to buy a YouTuber when you have $24 million a month? You could probably buy like 6 YouTubers for that. So it becomes sort of an interesting piece of our of our community. So Mark Victor comes along, attorneys on retainer, or creates attorneys on retainer. Now, he didn't just come out of nowhere. Like, Mark's been a factor here in Arizona since I've been in Arizona. He's a legit lawyer who's championed gun owners forever. He's highly respected and he's known throughout the state. So anybody who's questioning him just doesn't pay attention, doesn't bother to look at history, because he's definitely done everything he's done has been publicly. He hasn't hidden or nothing. He's been a big part of the biggest gun shows in Arizona since I've been going to gun shows in Arizona since the 90s. So Mark's been doing what he's been doing, and everyone knows in Arizona, in most CCW classes and stuff, people know if you want to be covered, one option is to go up and have Mark on retainer. And I can't remember what it was. It's not expensive. It's about, they're all about the same money. So they're all something like $30 a month, let's say. So, and whenever Mark went national with it, though, and called it Attorneys on Retainer and went head to head with some of the other organizations out there, that's when the war started. So, knowing that there's a war, some people raise your hand. Do you know there's a war going on, that stuff? Like, have you paid attention to that war? Do you have sides on that war? You're allowed to participate by commenting. This is ding, this is your opportunity to participate. I've been annoyed by it, so I don't pay that much attention to it. But at the same time, I'm aware of it, so I'm, trying to keep some track of it. And so when I saw Mark come onto the scene and started taking some attention and some of the air out of the sails, let's say, of USCCA, I was curious. And then I seen Crump come along and have a big fit about Mark's, calling Mark anti-gun. So that was interesting. So then Crump says Mark's going to be on his show, and he put that out 2 weeks ahead of time. So that was something I've been looking forward to. I didn't see it live, but I went back and watched it, and it was pretty interesting. You get a pretty good idea of everybody involved by watching Mark Victor here in Arizona have this conversation with Crump. Crump isn't his friend or nothing. He gives him challenging questions, but I don't really care what you think. So you can go find it. Go check out the hour or something that they chat. It is interesting. But anyway, so that was one of the reasons I do this show, is to try to shed light on these aspects of what we got going on out there, because most people are just trying to sell you shit. They just want your views, and honestly, they don't care what you think besides your views. So they're not going to get into this stuff that took me 20 minutes to explain. And because they don't care. They're not even paying attention to this shit, while we're all suffering in the big picture because we've got organizations making $24 million a month plus fighting with each other and not helping us. Why do we have anything going on in Colorado and Massachusetts and Washington State? Why is California a victim constantly of bullshit laws when we have organizations making $24 million a month? What the fuck? So people, put their head in the sands. They go, oh, I like this one or I like that one. And then, let's talk about red dots or whatever. So hopefully there's, I'm pushing back on that bullshit. All right. So thanks, country. Appreciate that. It's a rant, but that's what I rant about. Let's see. Fa says he can be bought. I cannot be bought. Maybe bribed or probably coerced. I think we can all be coerced, unfortunately. Let's see. I'll take $31 million a month legally, please. Fly you to a private range. It would be interesting. It's been a while since we've had a conversation about what the ideal range would be. Front Sight was pretty dang good, and now it's called Prairie Fire. And it's still the same, if not, well, no, they took out 2 of the shoot houses, so I'm not happy with Prairie Fire. But what Front Sight is, or was, and what Prairie Fire is pretty dang good. But there's that one in Colorado where the Girl in a Gun has their event, and I've never been there yet. But there's also the NRA's Whittingham Center, which is the largest firearms facility in the world, or I don't know if it's in the world, in the country. But then there's things like Blackwater and places like that have created places that aren't as big, but they're super neat and they're nice. So there are some pretty cool places out there that actually exist. Oh, you know what? There's this one in Tennessee or Kentucky? I think it's in Kentucky. And it used to be it was 2 golf courses and a giant castle or some shit. And then the golf courses went out of business and then somebody bought it. It's called like Rifle Rock or something Rock, Black Rock. It's not Black Rock, but some kind of rock, maybe Rock Castle or something like that. Never been there either, but that place sounded like a pretty cool kind of, giant destination for shooters. But yeah, if you had ultimate money, if you were making $24 million a month or more, and or maybe even a little bit less, and you decided to take, I don't know, 1 month, $24 million and make a shooting facility, what would that look like? You know what I mean? Well, we used to have conversations like that on the regular, actually, because every once in a while somebody would come up with the idea and we'd have another conversation about it. But yeah, that would be pretty neat. You definitely want to have some sort of airport, right? Or at least landing strips and helicopter pads and stuff. Let's see, having a light switch by the lamp on your bed. A lot of times the hotels I've been in just don't have lights, and the only light is in the one by your bed. So yeah, you kind of have control of the lights in the room but then what sucks is that the rest of the room is kind of dark because you only have those couple of lights that you have to turn on. But we're not a travel show tonight. We'll keep going. Oh, you're saying I have 88 acres and 31 million would make that amazing for a private all indoor range. Who wouldn't want to come to the Green Mountains of Idaho to hang? Here's what I would suggest. If you've got an outdoor range, we've got shovels and tools, right? Like we can build giant mines and, we dig ore out and stuff. So no matter, like you got 88 acres, if you got enough $31 million coming in every month, you just build like a big, like you've seen some of these things like the salt mines in Missouri, are they? Or are they in, I think they are. Maybe they're in Arkansas. But I know there's some like massive storage facilities that, from these like mines that are mined out. So just get some of that mining equipment and make it a double-decker situation. Instead of building a building, dig a giant underground facility. I mean, unless you got some reason to not want an underground facility. But then you can have your outdoor ranges doing whatever you got going on outdoors. And then underneath of all of that, you've got a whole nother indoor situation going. And you just make that as big as you want. Because you got $31 million a month coming in. All right on. So with that, we'll move on a little bit. So then we got Meet the Pressers chatting with Teresa Inneker. And this was when they were at SHOT Show. So Teresa Inneker is a lawyer from New Jersey and a Second Amendment advocate and one of the heavy hitters who's constantly keeping a focus and pressure on the people who would, just run crazy in New Jersey. In addition to just the New Jersey situation and issues that they have on a regular basis, defending from bad stuff, which is something that a lot of us in the states that don't have these issues tend to forget about. And I do this all the time. I'm glad I talk with Tony on Saturdays because it brings me back to reality. But if you're not under attack by antis, you forget that the people behind enemy lines, they have to defend constantly and then somehow rally the troops and push every once in a while. And that happens. It's not impossible. Illinois was able to get concealed carry. Like that didn't just happen. Nobody said, fuck it, let's just give them concealed carry. That's a shit ton of work by a shit ton of people, almost totally uncoordinated. The Illinois Rifle and Pistol Association, I don't want to take any credit away, but they didn't get a lot of help. There wasn't like a massive effort, because it was 2014. We're all standing around on the internet watching this happen, and it happened. but it wasn't like all the rest of the states pitched in. It wasn't like the national level gun owners' rights organizations said, "Hey, here's ways that we can all work together to put pressure on the representatives in Illinois and the people that are resisting us in Illinois. Here's how we can use education and awareness to change the minds of the people in Illinois." Now, people in Illinois just kept going to the legislature and kept uh, uh, repeating the positions that eventually allowed them to, because of Heller also, but eventually allowed them to get constitution or to get concealed carry. And now we've had, well, what, almost, is it 11 years? Wow, has it been 11 years for people in Illinois that we've had, what's the word, precedents that there's not going to be blood in the streets and people fighting over parking spots. So anyway, I would like to remember, for those of us in the states that aren't under attack, that there it is possible to win in the states that are constantly under attack, but it's so difficult. They've got to constantly have a shield in one hand and constantly have to use that shield, and every once in a while gain headway, by moving. And that's tough because people that are getting abused are happy to just see the fight over. Like, look at Colorado. They've got, again, a massive entity there sucking money like a vacuum, doesn't put any of that money anywhere. And the people in Colorado have to fight so hard just to resist the bad shit that they just want to stop. And they have no tendency, nobody's rallying the troops to push the other way. And anyway, so that's what Teresa is doing, is she's doing all that political work in New Jersey, again, resisting and pushing, because they do make some head grounds once in a while. But at the same time, she's running for NRA board. And, I won't get into the whole NRA thing, but it is our battleship. And while a lot of people who are getting paid $10 a month by somebody else to hate the NRA are content with watching our battleship burn, a bunch of people are like, why would we want to burn down our own battleship? It's a stupid ass idea. So people like Teresa are willing to actually put time and effort into running to change the board. And we only have 5 or 6 people left that are old school on NRA anymore. And then we have a new board, and it's now back in the hands of people who give a shit. So anybody that's not paying attention with NRA is obviously not paying attention to NRA, but I don't give a shit if they do or not. Guess what? Those people that hate the NRA today will be fucking loving the NRA in 2 years when everybody's done the heavy lifting, right? And NRA is doing what they want. Then they'll be like, oh, I didn't always hate the NRA, whatever. Hillbilly did his chat. I'm not allowed to talk about the members only chats. Let's act like those members only chats never happened. You didn't see nothing. One of the other things I like to bring up on this show is some of the channels that I watch that are just kicking the shit out of it. And while I hate the editing, and I'll keep saying that, Ironclad is the channel, and they have quite a few shows on that channel. And one of the shows is called Borderland, and they're in their 2nd season now, and they came out hitting strong. This is a Polish lady from Canada who moved to Mexico, and she's not a lady, she's 26. So I don't want to call her a kid, though. She's a young woman from Poland. She's Polish, but grew up in Canada, or she is Canadian. But she now lives in Mexico, and she's reporting on the cartels down there, like as a independent journalist. Great insight, really, really interesting insight. And now that we've got actual movement towards, it's not just potential, what's Trump going to do or what's the next president going to do type of shit. As these interviews happen, they're talking about the current state of events or current state of affairs. So really, really good one. I really enjoyed that one. It's like just about an hour long. Let's see. I have a friend who's going to move, sadly, if things don't change soon in Colorado. That's a tough one. I like Colorado. I've driven, I was doing a lot of road trips as a kid, and I've traveled a lot. And it wasn't until 2016 that I went to Colorado for the first time. So somehow I drove through like pretty much every other state, but I'd never been to Colorado. And it didn't bother me too much because I figured I knew what Colorado looked like. But then when I finally got there, I fell in love with it. I really, really, really like Colorado. I don't care about skiing or nothing. I've never even been in the mountains yet. I've just seen them. But I like Dragon Man's a hell of a lot. And went up and hung out with Honda for a minute in Denver. But that gave me a chance to kind of scoot around in Denver for a day or two. And I really see why people like it so much. But it's massively crowded. Like, I haven't been in the mountains yet. I'm guessing the mountains are a whole nother level of awesome. I'm a Wyoming mountain person, an Arizona mountain person, so I'm guessing the Colorado mountains are going to be way too crowded for me, but they're also massive. And anyway, so I can understand why people dig Colorado, but at the same time, I totally understand why people would ditch out of Colorado. I like visiting Colorado, but it just seems like a real mix that I wouldn't want to be around. I have to deal with a mix here in Arizona that I don't dig, but we are kind of the same. We only have 2 cities here in Arizona. They have a physical thing in Colorado where they're all kind of in a line. All the cities are going down one road. That part of it kind of bugs me. I kind of live, and the reason it bugs me is I live in that right now. I'd kind of rather live someplace like Vegas where you've got like 6 or 8 directions you can leave out of town. But anyway, I could totally see somebody digging or booking out of Colorado. But I guess the other side of it is, how much does it cost to live in Colorado? It's got to be getting to be more and more money all the time. Okay, so getting into another one from Maj, listening to, what was this? Oh, this was a lady who was an air traffic controller in the Navy, I think, talking about it. I always followed the Arizona Game and Fish, so I guess I was watching this. This was a ripoff, though. It's 37 hours worth of watching a lake here in Arizona. So the sandhill cranes, I don't like them. Whenever I was fishing, I was into fishing back in the day. Whenever I'd be fishing in the morning, the cranes don't like it if people are around, and they just quack and they squawk, and they make this horrible fucking noise, and they're assholes. So they're just jerk birds. I'm not a big fan of birds anyway, but these are jackass birds that just don't like people. So they'll just make too much of a ruckus, and they scare all the fish away. They probably know enough to know that if they make noise, people go away, and you're not allowed to do nothing to them. So you have to kind of leave them alone. Anyway, so I don't like them, but I've hunted them a couple of times and never even seen one, of course, when I'm hunting, because I suck at hunting. But this is 37 hours from the Arizona Game and Fish of this lake. I skipped through when it was about 3 hours into it, and I didn't see any of them, so I never went back. But I'm guessing at 37 hours, they probably were in there a couple of times. It says the active times are from 5 p.m. to 7 a.m. What? 5 p.m. to 7 a.m. and then from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Huh. That must be because of their migration or something. Anyway, like I said, I'd never seen one when I was hunting. I seen them when I was fishing. Never seen one when I'm hunting them. But that's the story of a lot of people, I think. It looks like Pat in the bunker was talking about some T-Sauce, 1911. Then we've got, that was just like a teaser video for that other one. I think this is some guy talking about that old guy. I don't know why that one showed up. I don't know who that is. Gun Owners of America was talking about Tim Kennedy. I don't know if anybody out there has got any opinions on Tim Kennedy and his rise and fall. She Fires doesn't go live every week, but she was live on Saturday or on Sunday again this week, catching people up. And for people that don't know, She Fires is a channel out of Florida, and she's sharing her kind of growth in the firearms path, and she's also an instructor. So interesting to have people share their experiences and create community as they do so. There's a lot of value, in my opinion, there's a lot of value in bringing people together online. It doesn't seem like it when there's nothing going on, when we aren't under attack and when there's no pressure. These communities seem like insignificant, no big deal. We take them for granted. we don't think about how many people are coming and going, and we tend to to focus on dumbass shit like this. Well, it's not stippling anymore, but grip angles and red dot plates and stupid shit that the stores want us to worry about. But when we are under attack, when it does get stressful, and when we are, I don't want to say desperate, when we are super interested in having allies and knowing people are on our side, communities online have been, I don't know what to say, like just completely different than what we could have ever had back in the day when we didn't have this potential, this opportunity. And there's forums, there's membership sites, and then there's audiences, and all of those suck ass because they're all at the they're all at the discretion of whoever is distributing the information. But the online communities hosted by people like Sheepfires, hosted by people like Hillbilly, hosted by people like Gizzard, and others who are just regular people hosting live shows, that's a real place that people can go and meet with other real people. That's priceless. There's no way to value that, because it's more than valuable. And I don't think enough people, unless you've been through it, and to understand the significance of it, enough people don't give credit to the hosts, the people that put the effort into going live, especially in the shows like She Fires, where she brings a bunch of people together and they actually chat. Not like tonight where Foss and Country Roomfire are doing all the work. There's a bunch of people watching on the Instagram, and I'm going to challenge them. Like, are you able to communicate? Like, you are, well, you're more than welcome to type in there. You are able to type stuff, and I would read it. The only person that said anything asked something I can't talk about on YouTube. So, but you are able to. You're just maybe not. Maybe other chats don't ask you to chat on Instagram. Same thing with X. There's tons of people watching over on X right now. In fact, most of the people are watching on X right now. But will they chat? No. They just won't type in. It's weird. But again, thanks to the people that do, it makes it more interesting for me as a host. But again, watching people like Sheepfires, like Foss, like Gizzard, who Hillbilly, the people that have actual people show up and they have conversations. Again, it's taken for granted and people don't realize the significance of it, but it's ultimately valuable. Ultimately valuable. And they allow us all to get to know each other and know who's who, where people are, and that kind of thing. And just been ultimately valuable in my experience since 2005 being online, of all the different platforms I've used and all the different ways that people communicate. The YouTube live chats are amazing. No, we can. If the people on X, when they chat, if they were to take the initiative and actually type something in there, it would, or no, shit, I shouldn't assume that. On the last one I did, Foss would know. Does X show up over here? Maybe I'm talking shit about the people on X and they are saying stuff and I'm just not seeing it. So if that's the case, then I apologize to those people on X who might be commenting, but I'm assuming I can see that. I think, no, I guess I don't know. I'm wrong. It is grayed out over here. So it's possible that people are commenting on X and getting all pissed and butthurt because I'm talking shit about them and they're commenting. I've done shit like that before. Stuff like that's happened. You're saying you don't know, but am I still screen sharing? I can show you. If I look over here and then click on this, YouTube is good, but these are grayed out. So can't post comments to these destinations. See? So I'm actually not getting comments from Instagram. But I just figured that out. So all the shit talk I was doing, you got to take it with a grain of salt. I didn't know. But whatever. We'll move on to the mouse party, which is Foss right over there, who's saying he doesn't know if they show up or not. I guess I could go look at X now that I'm going to go look and see. Does it take me right to X by any chance? You are live. Watch on Twitter. Says there's a shit ton of people watching. But now the question is, do I see their chats? Because I don't see nothing over here. Show timestamps. So historically, nobody on Twitter ever says anything. Maybe they're fake views. Maybe they're bots. I don't know. I don't want to click stop. So let me click over here before I click stop accidentally. All right. So mouse party happens. The overnight mouse party, excuse me, happens on Saturday nights. So pretty much this time tomorrow. You're not going to be left hanging. You can watch the mouse party and again be part of the conversation. He actually brings people in and to be part of the show, and then tons of people participate in the comments. Got to remember where I can mute over here. All right. Let's see. No, look at this. Look at this. We did get a comment from X. Thank you very much. So we did get a text chat from Toxic Patch Thief. Well played. Well played. So you're thieving patches from other people, like you go around snagging them off of people's backpacks, or something else? I think if you had the right kind of spatula, you could visit people and snag them off of their patch panel using the right kind of spatula. There's probably like some kind of a Teflon spatula that wouldn't let the Velcro noise happen, or maybe a felt spatula. I don't know. Let's see. So Solomon is posted a video talking about going to Haiti for a trip, I think. And then you got Saturday. Ooh, sorry, I'm yawning. It's getting late for me. Well, I guess it's late for everybody. Is it really 11:30? Holy crap! How long have I been on? This is Brooke's show. It's called Mental Health Matters now because YouTube is an asshole. Because YouTube is a bunch of jerks, and if you talk about suicide at all, even in the way like suicide prevention, even putting those two words together, they don't understand what that means. So they block channels, they delete stuff, they give strikes, and it's bullshit. I'm sure they didn't help her in the logarithm at all. So changing it to Mental Health Matters hopefully will help out her channel. But I encourage anybody who's interested in seeing the ball move, right? Seeing changes through awareness and education rather than just political grandstanding or gotchas or back and forth tennis game bullshit. But if you really want to affect change, the only way to do that is to go to your adversary, your opponent, the person who thinks that our rights and our property are meaningless, and either educate them or let them be aware that they're misunderstanding the circumstances. And you don't have to do it. There's plenty of people who are willing to do it, but just understand that we're never going to change things if all we do is go up to the fence and yell our position from our side of the fence. We need to go stand on their side of the fence, see it from their position and go, oh, okay, I see why you might be concerned, but here's the reality. What you think is an issue is not, and here's why. And everybody, there's a lot of people over there, so it might take a couple of different strategies or methods to accomplish that. But once you've done that, you no longer have an adversary, and you didn't fight them, you didn't defeat them, you didn't just shout them down. You ended the conversation, the dilemma. And that's what Brooke does every single Saturday. She hosts a show that creates the understanding that mental health is something that we can actually talk about and use to our advantage, especially when talking to the other side, but also when talking to each other. So if you like to be able to have conversations using the nomenclature and the terminology and the positions that are going to be able to affect change with those people who hate our rights and hate our property, then consider helping out Brooke by sharing her show, by letting people know it's happening. It's as simple as here's how you do it. You go find a show like Brooke's that's worth checking out. What did I do? Didn't I just open it? There it is. And when you open it, let's say this was our show from tomorrow, you can go in here and click share. And it's going to say, how do you want to share it? It's going to actually let you post it out to other platforms, which is always a good thing, useful for people that you appreciate or shows that you think are valuable. But what you can also do is here on YouTube, create a post. And that's going to put a post in what we used to call our community tab. Now it's called our post tab. And you can say something as simple as, Brooke I don't know what happened there. Or I'm going to say, was live. And then that created a post over on my community tab. And that helps her out in the logarithm and does a lot for her channel. Because one of the ways that this whole internet works, it's called a net because it's a network. They call it the World Wide Web because it's a web of interconnected pieces. So when you create a link to a show like Brooks, the logarithm says, oh, there's another entity out in YouTube that thinks this is valuable. And, it's some level, 10 or 20 or 100 or whatever the number is. The logarithm will say, okay, enough people thought this was of value to make a post on their channel about it. Why don't we share this with people like them? And if I do that and you do that and somebody else does it and she does it and some other guy does it, then guess what? We get a realm, a spectrum of people that YouTube is now going to send Brooke's show out to, and that's how something becomes viral. So with that knowledge, your efforts on any platform, but especially on YouTube, to promote the stuff you value is useful. Don't let anybody tell you it isn't. It's the, one drop never thinks it's responsible for the flood philosophy. People think that, if I don't see immediate success or immediate wins out of my efforts, then why should I bother? But anybody who's, put any kind of effort into something for any amount of time knows that the little pieces help a lot, or the little efforts help a lot. All right, so Spirit Systems, one of the channels I watch, they make stuff, did a review of SHOT Show stuff. Pretty interesting concept. They did a pretty long video explaining all the stuff that was new in their products in their booth. Some organizations, some manufacturers will wait for a content creator to come along and feature their stuff or promote their stuff, but that's kind of silly. One, there's a lot of content creators that are above that now, and they think it's less, it's lower than them to go around doing booths and product reviews at SHOT Show. But they also maybe not know how to do it. Like they don't know how to hold a camera good, or they don't know how to describe your products good. So manufacturers that are comfortable doing it, promoting their own stuff, producing their own content, great idea. And they did it well. I'm a big fan of Spirit Systems. I don't know if you guys are. Feel free to comment if you are. Let's see, what else do we got? You can set how long the highlighted chats are shown so you don't forget they are up. Oh, that's what that 5 minutes is, huh? Very cool. I didn't know. I saw that thing there, but I didn't. Or is that 5 minutes like you said that 5 minutes ago? No, I think that means you said that 5 minutes ago. Because this one says 9 minutes. But thanks for the feedback there. We're pretty much done because now we're looking at this time last week, right? So Black Powder Podcast posted some his booth reviews. One of them was this tardigrade. The people that helped him get to SHOT Show, which is super cool. Tardigrade makes ballistic eyewear and face stuff. So really cool stuff. We definitely wouldn't mind having some tardigrade equipment. And then you got our show last week. So we'll wrap that up right there. That's just about an hour, a little bit extra. Normally, I would say this show is going to refer you over to Great Start Shooting School tomorrow in the afternoon, depending on where you are, for the Mental Health Matters show. But she just hasn't posted it yet. So I posted a show for me and Tony tomorrow, the Ask Gun Questions, and I just linked it to that. But no matter where you're at, thanks for joining us. I will start knocking things off of the screen here so that I can pay less and less attention to other stuff and try to figure out how to close the show over here. If there's any last things to comment, feel free to do so. Again, sorry for scolding X all night when it turns out, it turns out that they can comment. So I'm going to go right back to scolding X for not commenting. You don't have to. Just because other people rant and chat and say stuff to you and have a bunch of stuff that they're either paid to say or they got to get across because they're desperate to say it, that doesn't mean that you got to that you can't say nothing. You can definitely say stuff, like break free of that, whatever's holding you back from commenting, and consider commenting next week. We're here every Friday at midnight Eastern ish. I try to go live at midnight Eastern, but Gizzard doesn't give a shit about my time, and he'll just run his show to whenever he feels like it. So I usually wait and run my show after. But every once in a while, if I can't stay up this late, it'll happen in the morning on Saturday. But most of the time, it's on Friday evenings. Guess what? If we get enough Patreons, I go live every night again. For 1,600 episodes, we went live every single day. And I don't have a problem doing that. There's definitely enough stuff to talk about. And I personally, when I only have limited time to talk, I'm going to talk about stuff that matters to the moving the ball forward. But if I got all week to talk about stuff, I can get nerdy about gun stuff. I feel like my gun interests are different than other people's, so I wouldn't offer the same old. But if you're interested, grab a bunch of money, go to our Patreon, start throwing it at us, and I will take that money and do a show every single evening. I'm not going to do my show during the middle of the day because I'm not desperate for attention. I'm not trying to get rich and famous. What I am interested in is having a long format show that can get some stuff done. I've been doing this for 1,900 episodes. I should quit saying 16. 1,600 was daily. And then I went to a less consistent format because I went broke for a couple of years. But, now that I'm coming back from that bullshit, I don't have any interest in just doing a show just to create a place to put ads up, or just to do a show so that I can, promote my friends in the industry or some shit. Like, I want to see us end this whole thing. I alluded to that earlier. Like, this is possible to end, and it has nothing to do with just yelling louder or saying the same shit over and over. It has to do with paying attention to those folks that are out here that have come onto the scene since 2015, who are ignored by the national level organizations for the most part, or stolen from, and basically ignored, though. And there's quite a few strategies, methods, and opportunities that we have available to us to just change the realm completely, or the conversation completely. And I would work towards that. But whatever, jump on our Patreon. Like I say, if enough people did, maybe a couple of gun shops join in. If I had probably 100 gun shops join up, I could get back on the road again and not go broke this time, and that would be a lot of fun. So I'll put it out there just so that people know, like, hey, that's a direction I would definitely go into. I'm just not going to be dumbass about it again and go I'm watching the comment happen on Instagram. Thanks. I just don't know if that comment is going to show up over here on the thing so I can type it in, or show it up on the screen. But anyway, I figured I'd throw it out there. At some point, I'll probably get closer and closer to where I'll make it happen that we can go live every night. But until that can be facilitated, if it happens, by a bunch of people jumping on to Patreon, that'd be awesome. So we got the Patreon out there. It's been massive before. It's not very massive now. I think we have, I guess I don't know, but 74 people or something like over there. Most of the people are free members, so they're not really participating financially. But the people that are participating on Patreon financially are keeping our 3 servers online. We have 3 servers. They're keeping the however many websites that those run out there 24/7, and they give me the time to update those websites for the most part. I haven't had a chance to this month, but we'll get in there again as things slow down from SHOT Show and the rest, the change of the year and all that. But I guess tax season will put a kick in the time frame a little bit. But aside from tax season, there's not much else coming up. So we'll see a lot of the websites get updated. And then projects, we've kind of alluded to some of the projects here. We alluded to some of the projects on that Instagram show the other day. But looking forward to getting the Minuteman University website put into a book format so that it's, a piece of paper that people can hold in their hands. I think there's value there. So, that's some of the big long-term goals until then. Thanks for joining us. And It only showed it when you showed it. Well, Foss went over to Instagram and, oh, it says pin comment. What did that do? I just pinned your comment. So I don't know what that did. But anyway, Foss made a comment over on Instagram, the second comment of the evening. So thank you for that. And we also got the comment from X earlier. So we're learning. And again, thanks to Foss for showing me this new software. With all that said, I just saw this. Very good. Thanks. And if you'd like another one to join, right on, dude. So I might take you up on that. If you're awake this late at night, then let's talk about that. Foss is over here, so I don't know if he's interested in joining in on a Friday night. But I do need to figure out how to put a time limit. I think I'd probably put like a 3-minute timer on them, because you can always go back and re-click them. But I do like the idea that it can automatically kind of ditch the highlighted comment. I'm pretty much rambling now, so I will figure out what to do here to get to this, and then I like the preview too. Yeah, this is pretty handy. I'm liking this, and once I get familiar with this one, it's going to be even easier, I think.
Ninja? Ninja! Ninja!
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.